Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another review. Holy shit, we are here in the year 2023, and the last time I reviewed something was at the start of October last year for Chucky, and I did 2 episodes, and then I really didn't feel like doing any more because the show was okay. Not as good as the first season, but this one kind of had some missteps, and I didn't feel like reviewing it every week. And by the time of the end, I'm like, you know what? Let's not review this because it's enjoyable, but not as enjoyable as the first three Child Plays. Like after Child Play, like the movies kind of get messy, and I can watch this, but it's not as good as the first three. But we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be back for however many Sundays this will take to complete, because tonight we are reviewing The Last of Us. Not the game, the show. The show on HBO. And yeah, there's a lot I want to talk about, and this will just be one recording, no cuts. I was thinking about doing a live stream and just getting some opinions in, but not that very many people tune in for the live stream, so hopefully this will do better, and maybe next weekend I'll do a live stream. Let me know down below if you would like a live stream opposed to a long recording. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read the review I wrote, so I hope you don't mind that. So it is coming from me. This is all me, baby. No fucking added flavors or anything. It's me talking. But it's time for my review of The Last of Us, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I'm gonna cover this in beats, not word for word, but to start out, we'll talk about the casting. Now, first off, when they announced they're making a show, I'm like, okay, The Last of Us is my favorite game of all time. But then it might be just added to the books of failed attempts to bring games to movie form or games to TV form. But then we got listings of the first casting. And the first casting I heard of was Pedro Pascal. And at the time, I just finished watching Mandalorian Season 1 and 2. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh, dude, fuck yeah. Because if y'all watch Mandalorian, he's a badass in there. He's, he plays, a stoic type, but he's also a badass. He's just a badass bounty hunter. And, I really enjoyed him in that. And then plus, I haven't seen it, but I've seen just some scenes in the movie Her. And that right there, that comparison right there just proves he has range. Because in one, he's, all armored up and kicking ass and shooting guys and taking names. And then in the other, he's fucking a robot. Or fucking a computer. So, talk about range, there you go. So I wasn't worried about the casting of Joel in The Last of Us TV show. And, yeah, I really, originally, this is back when 2017 came around, I'm all like, oh my god, if they ever make a Last of Us movie or TV show, Hugh Jackman. Because I saw Logan, I'm like, Hugh Jackman, right there, look at him, he's bearded, he's gray-haired, he's bulky, he looks like Joel. But then they surprised me with this, Pedro Pascal, and his performance in the show killed it. Felt like I was watching Troy Baker in the game, but man, he brings his own flavor, his own taste. I enjoyed I just enjoyed how he presented himself and so on, and he just felt like Joel, but in TV form, and I really enjoyed that, and I really just enjoyed the way he carried himself, and so on and so forth. Now, as for Tess, Tess did a good job. I don't really like when it comes to look factor. Like none of the actors are gonna look exactly like the in-game characters. So I draw a line there. The only part I have a problem with is when they make significant changes to the casting, aka Wesker in the Resident Evil fucking uh, movie, I think, or the Resident Evil Netflix series. I forget which one, but they made Wesker black. It's like Wesker isn't black. He's white, and the race isn't the problem. Them going off the source material is, which is just, you know, it's weird how people want to change it that much. They could just, they could have went with Anthony Stark. Now the person that played Wesker is fantastic. I loved him. Isn't he from Breaking Bad? I think so. Hold on. Actor who played Wesker in Resident Evil. Lance Reddick. Yeah, Lance Reddick. An American actor and musician. He is best known for playing Cedric Daniels in The Wire, Philip Royals in Fringe, and Chief Irving in Bosch. In film, he is best known for starring as Sharon. Oh, he's from the John Wick movies. Not fucking I was Breaking Bad, but no, that's John Carlos Esposito. But yeah, he does a fantastic job acting. The only thing, the problem I have is like the people who do the casting. It's like you're going off the source materials. You see the source material going off of, but then you make a significant change that is just weird. It's just weird. But that's the only problem I have with casting wise. But, and, like I said, the actors that portray your favorite characters will not look exactly like the characters. Maybe with tons of CGI on their face, but who wants that? But, who wants that? Nobody. Nobody wants that. As long as the actor is able to perform in the manner that the games or whatever, in the way that they were presented in the games, that's no problem. And Pedro Pascal killed it as Joel, and I can't wait to see how he draws out this performance in the lead up to the final episode. Next up, next up is Tess. Tess did a really good job. I don't really care that she seemed older. But I still liked her. She definitely gave off Tess vibes, and that's all good in itself. And then the person who played Robert, it seemed like he was from the game, and that's good. Wish, he kind of stayed around a little bit longer. You'll see what I get into, and I know what happens in the game. I played the game like 5 times, but yeah, I kind of wish we got something more out of him. But, besides that, he did a good job. But this entire time, ladies and gentlemen, we're being introduced to Joel, to Robert, to Tess, to Sarah, which her and Joel's chemistry killed it. I really liked it. I really liked the way they bounced off each other and so on and so forth. Really reminded me of the game. And I will be mentioning the game because it's my favorite game of all time, and that's the only thing to go off of. And then Tony too, he did a really great job, and I think that's the actor that played him in the game. I don't know, might be wrong. They changed a little bit over this look, like they gave him a darker hair color, but for the most part, I heard something on the way bad, but for the most part, really did a good job. But back to it, the whole time I'm like, I'm wondering, like, leading up to this, leading up to the show, or to the casting reveal of a beloved character. And that is, you all know, Ellie. Who will play Ellie? And then it was revealed it's gonna be Bella Ramsey of Game of Thrones. Now, I haven't watched all of Game of Thrones. I only watched the first 2 seasons, and I'm trying to get through the others. And I watched season 8, or the second half of season 8, because I jumped on because I'm a fanboy and I like to jump on things. But for the first 2 seasons, I enjoyed Bella Ramsey's performance. Didn't know what else was coming up for her. Didn't really want to cast or anything. Like, oh, she works in here. But then she got casted as Ellie, one of my all-time favorite characters in video game history. Her and Joel, really love them as a duo, and they bring heartbreaking moments throughout each game. And I was waiting. And at first, I just was floundered, left bewildered. I'm like, I mean, okay, let's see. I wouldn't have cast her that honestly, but I guess this is what we'll have, and we'll have to ignore the fact that person's playing Ellie, and then just hopefully get drawn in by everybody else. And my first pick for Ellie was Sadie Sink, going off of Stranger Things season 3 and 4. Love her in there. She brings a really good Ellie-ish vibe to that show, and I really thought she would have been a perfect casting for this. And then, after that, I'm like, okay, no use in complaining. Nothing's gonna change, It's the castings are stuck in place. And so I'm like, okay, I'll wait. And then me and my friends, we made fun of her. We posted pictures and stuff like that and blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my God, this is not who I would have chose as Ellie, as my go-to. And then I waited. I waited till the show premiered January 15th, tonight, on HBO Max. And I'm waiting the entire show, just waiting, each scene. And then when the show started, I'm like, that's a young version of Ellie. But then that kid died. I'm like, okay. That's not her. So it's, and I know what Bella Ramsey looks like. But, I was just like, oh, are they going to, de-age her and put her on start her from the ground up or whatever? But no. Yeah, that was just a throwaway body. And then we finally get into a different thing. Yeah, or a thing that wasn't explored in the games, and that's where Ellie was being held by the Fireflies. And that's chained up to a steam tank. And when, the guard was talking to her, it's like, oh, count slowly and clearly. Bella Ramsey did her job, but then she got into the Ellie-type attitude to where they told her to count slowly, and she got to 9, and then 10, and flipped them off and said, fuck you. I'm like, okay, I like it. I like what I'm seeing here. It was a little bit of cringe at first, but, then I kind of compare it's like, well, you want your favorite thing to be portrayed perfectly on TV. And it came off as cringy as first, but as we got going, I went along with him. Like, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. And throughout the rest of the show, I really liked the way she interacted with Joel and Marlene and Tess and everything. Really good. And that, that's one of the surprises the show brought me. And that's Bella Ramsey as Ellie. She's not as good as Ashley Johnson. No, she is not. But she did a good job, and that's all I can say is well for the show. That is well in my books, and now I can watch the show and not be filled with cringe every time she comes on screen. But then, after that, uh, we got that, yeah, yeah. But another thing, like when she was casted in my reaction, was like, okay, well, let's just go and see. I hope it's not horrible. I forgot to mention this. It reminded me of way back a couple years ago when Robert Pattinson was cast as the Batman slash Bruce Wayne in The Batman, the most recent Batman film. And at first I'm like, oh my god, are you fucking kidding me? He's from Twilight, because I didn't do my homework and realized he was in other movies. I thought he was just from Twilight. I'm like, oh my god, that's gonna be so bad. But then I heard people, okay? And I heard that he is fantastic or really good in other movies. I'm like, okay, and we'll wait to see how it plays out. And funny enough, the Batman is Robert Pattinson is my second favorite portrayal of Batman slash Bruce Wayne, next to Michael Keaton. And why? Why are those my two favorite portrayals of Batman? Well, on Keaton's side, or not Keaton's, on Keaton's side, he's able to bring the, the strong thing about Batman. He has the voice, he has intimidation factor, and he just brings it all, and the combat and yada yada. And he plays a really good Bruce Wayne. Now, Pattinson doesn't bring any flashy shit like sex in the fish tank, which I'm all for, because I see that sort of stuff. I'm like, oh, you're just a billionaire douchebag having sex in fish tanks, and you're not supposed to. Get out of there. I have to clean that now. Thank you. But, I really enjoyed the less flashy aspect of Robert Pattinson as Batman. And, I enjoyed him as Batman because he was a Batman that the criminals feared, especially in that subway scene when they stare at the dark and all they hear is boots walking towards them. So good. But that's what Bella Ramsey's casting as Ellie reminds me of. She surprised me, and she, that's all good in the show's health. And I will be tuning in each and every Sunday to watch, because I don't want to be spoiled, but then also because I want to watch another episode. But yeah, that's a really good thing in the Ellie casting. And after that, up. Oh, and then after that, I mentioned Marlene did a good job, Tess did a good job, Robbie did a good job, or Robert did a good job for the amount of time we had him. Tommy did a good job. But then after that, they seem to be doing a couple things different from the video game. So it's not copy and paste, same scene, same thing, whatever. They seem to be doing their own thing, and I am okay with that. Just as long as it doesn't fuck with the lore, in my opinion, and I'll get to that. Now, first thing to note, things they changed is, Tess got jumped by Robert and his goons, and they beat her up. I'm like, okay, they didn't show that part in the game, so okay. It'll probably lead to the same thing, like, oh, Joel and Tess are going to get the battery for the truck, and then they're going to use that, and yada yada, and they bring it to Bill. But no, Joel and Tess, did I say Joel? No, like, Joel and Tess, are trying to get the battery, and yada yada. But then Joel and Tess fall upon Robert, and he's dead against the wall. And Tess is like, oh, he was trying to sell it again. Oh, no surprise. What an asshole. And he's dead. So it's not Joel killing Robert like in the game. It's just them falling upon his failed deal. And I kind of have a problem with that because in the game, it showcased what this world has done to Joel throughout the 20-year time of the apocalypse. And this one, I mean, Joel, Joel's pretty brutal. He murdered that old lady on the night of the infection. And, I enjoyed that. And he just clobbers her along the head with the fucking wrench. It's like, okay, Joel's pretty brutal, dude, pretty brutal. And also the way Sarah is, introduced to the to the zombies or infected, it's like, okay, this is pretty creepy. And it remind me of a lot. It reminded me of 28 Days Later, to where, like, they're just walking the streets, and then he goes into the church, and the zombie runs after him. And this one isn't to the same degree, but, it reminded me a lot of that. Then what? Then what? What am I... Oh, yeah, but, they fall upon Robert being dead, opposed to having Joel kill him, which I think is a missed opportunity, because you could have just shown what the world has done to Joel, because that was the night of, opposed to 20 years ago. But, hey, they want to make it different, and, yeah, you can't really do anything now, because, the first episode's already done. But then, after that, we move on to the testing. The guard catches Joel, Tess, and Ellie, and asks them to kneel down on their knees so he can test them. Like, okay, this is very reminiscent of the game. If you haven't played the game, the guard is testing each person, and the final one is Ellie. And then in the final one, Ellie stabs a guy, and I think she kills the guard. I'm not sure. I'm really blanking because I haven't played the game in so long. I think she stabs him, and then Joel shoots him. But in here, Ellie stabs him in the leg, and then there's a standoff. And then it did something really different that I don't think they did in the games. At least I don't remember. But the guard flashes Joel with his flashlight, and it brought back the memory of him trying to protect Sarah. And Joel just lunged on the dude and killed him. Just punched him. And then after that, Tess sees the tester, and it's positive, which means Ellie is infected. But, if you haven't played the game, spoiler alert, she's able to do that and able to be infected but not become a clicker or a zombie. And that one, I really didn't mind that they changed, because they did that part, and it's like, okay, we're going to possibly explore Joel's PTSD, because it showed that, and it showed him, and it's like, no, I don't want this to happen again. And that's something I can get behind. I can get into them exploring deeper into the character, because in the games it was only shown through expressions and how someone did something. But now, it seems pretty interesting. And then no, actually, I'll say that for the negative area, because yes, there are two negatives. Next up after that, and that is the look. The look of the show. The look of the show right out of the gate reminded me of the game. And that right there, perfect. Just perfect cinematography, perfect camera shots, perfect apocalypse look, perfect. Especially the outbreak night is like, oh yeah, you see Jimmy's farm catch on fire, you see just a bunch of people rounded up and yada yada, and then you see the car crash, and then yeah, it's really good, especially when the guard catches Joel and Sarah, and then that scene where like Joel's just crawling on the ground behind. It's like, please don't, and then Tommy shoots him in the head. It's like, yeah, dude, that just reminds me so much of the game. And yeah, so big positives on the look, especially just the way everybody's dressed and the way of the environment, really good. And then yeah, that pretty much covers all the positives. I really had a good time, and I'll get into my rating later, but it's one of the best adaptations of recent memory, and I will be buying this when it comes out on Blu-ray or 4K or whenever. Definitely will. But now we got negatives. Okay. And first they changed some key events. Okay, I call them key. Death of Robert, I said that could have just been expressed to see how much this world has changed Joel, because in the beginning, he didn't just kill anybody. But then 20 years later, in the game, he has no problem killing Robert. He's like, oh, you're an annoyance. We got to get rid of you. And then, and then we move in to Marlene. From what I remember, Marlene was planning to ask Joel and Tess to take Ellie to the hospital. In here, it just seems like they're her last people they can. Now, I might be mistaken on that, and if I am, please let me know down below. But yeah, that's what I remember from the game. And then damn it. Oh, here we go. And then, bruh. Okay. And then, yeah, but, that seemed kind of weird. But, yeah, please let me know if I'm wrong about that down below. But now we move into the biggest negative, and I think is a huge, like, what the fuck moment. Like, when I heard this, I'm like, what are you doing? Are you going off the source material? I don't think so. And that is the exclusion, not exclusion of spores in the world. So in here, there's no spores. And that right there removes so many revealing moments, because at first, if you played the game, Ellie says like, oh, I'm bit, but I'm okay, and yada yada, and Joel and Tess don't believe any of that. But then when Joel and Ellie are in a spore room, and then something happens, and then Ellie has her mask on or off, and she's breathing in the spore, it's revealed to Joel. It's like, oh shit, she was right. She can breathe in this stuff. And man, just not only that, but that was the one thing that made The Last of Us, that was one of the key things in The Last of Us. It's like, oh, this is our infection. This is the type of infection it is. These are, the things that come from the world of The Last of Us. Especially going off of the infection, like the fungal infection, I really like that aspect. Because, like, okay, this is taking a scientific approach. Not just like, oh, it's a sickness that turns you into the zombie and then blah, 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 And, like, that's how all zombie movies, and they succeed on the way they present it. But, The Last of Us succeeded by taking, like, such a an original approach to it and making its own key features the into the universe. But yeah, that exclusion really bugs me, because without it, it just seems like, oh yeah, it's The Last of Us if it was just a zombie show. And I know they're not zombies, but you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like a zombie show, but with my favorite video game characters. But, you know, the performances of the people really overtake me enough to watch the show in full. And also, if they decide to change it later, they can. They could draw out the whole, oh, you're not infected thing, and Joel and Tess not believing Ellie onto season 2, if they do a season 2, because I think they're just gonna do the first game. I'm not sure. I really hope they do the second game. But, yeah. Yeah. Just real interested if they will do something like that. I mean, hell, well, I mean, no, they can't, because they have the first season finished. But I mean, they could change that up. They could reveal that Ellie can breathe in spores later on in, like, a season 2 if they do one. But I don't know. But then one more negative. I like to save my negatives till the end, but I think next week, if there are any, I'm gonna be putting them up front in first, because I don't really like to end the review with negatives. But then we move on to the not really violent approach. There's not that much blood in here. Like Ellie. Like, first off is Ellie's, like, mark. Like, she got, like, scratched on the leg or something, to where I think she got scratched on the arm in the game, But, like, I kind of wish they just kept the same body part. Like, why do you have to change up body parts? Because in the game, it's like, oh, you can see it, if you look real close, and it's a signifying look for Ellie. In the show, it's like, okay, well, I know if I played the games, but then if I, like, forget that it's on her leg, then I kind of forget, But, like, that one, and there's not that much violence. I kind of wish it was. I kind of wish it went rated R, because if you played the game, holy shit, you can blow a dude's head off, and you can also chop a dude's head off, and if you played the multiplayer, you can kill. You throw fucking nail bombs at people, and they explode, and yada yada. So the toned down violence kind of gets to me, but it's enjoyable. Now that I look at it, it's enjoyable mostly because of the performances of the actors, and Pedro Pascal does a fantastic job as Joel, and Bella Ramsey, surprised me as Ellie, and all the other people do really good jobs, and that right there, I was intrigued enough, to give it, this earned a 4.5 out of 5, and that's based on looks, the way it feels like The Last of Us, and the performances alone. Like, I can overlook, I can, but then I also can't. It's like a mixed thing also, it's like, okay, I know you don't want to be overly violent, but, maybe you could have been not been overly violent and been violent in the moments where it matters, but, hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? No, ladies and gentlemen, but I really enjoyed it just based off, seeing the moments that I played for years be presented on screen and the performances of the entire cast. Really good. And I wouldn't want to, because, I really enjoy the story and stuff. It's like, oh, make up something original. But, like, I really enjoyed the story in the game. And, yeah. So, that alone is like a 5 out of 5. But, reviewing it in show form, I think a 4.5 out of 5 is a really good rating. Now, if you hate the show, then give it a 1. I don't care. That's your opinion. But, and with me enjoying the game story so much and then seeing it played out but a little bit differently, but played out, and some of my favorite characters of all time be presented on screen in a performance that I think is acceptable, that's great. That's awesome. The reason it gets a 4.5 out of 5, though, is mainly due to the, what seems to, just going off what they said, not a lot of violence. It's not going to be overly violent, and then some of the change ups. Like, I kind of think they shouldn't have just fallen upon Robert being dead. I kind of wish Joel did that, because that defines who Joel is and what he doesn't have a problem with doing. But yeah, with that said, I really enjoyed it, and I really can't wait to watch all the other episodes. And yeah, let me know. Have you played The Last of Us, and have you seen The Last of Us down below? Would really like to hear what you all think. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you each and every Sunday around 8 o'clock to talk with you guys. And let me know down below, next week, would you like me to do a live stream, or no, just keep it as in like one long recording? Let me know down below. With that said, hope y'all did enjoy, and I will see y'all in the next one.